essential to the mission? Number 2, is there shared urgency about the change? Number 3, is relational trust high enough to sustain the change? Number 4, is the timing right for the change? And number 5, am I willing to see the change to completion? All right? So these are the 5 diagnostic questions, and the answer to each one must be yes before you launch out into whatever you're thinking about doing. So now let's talk about each one together. Number 1. The first issue is what I call essentiality, and the question is the change essential to the mission? So let's read that out loud together. Ready? Is the change essential to the mission? Again, is the change essential to the mission? One more time. Is the change essential to the mission? Una más. Is the change essential to the mission? I know enough Spanish to get me in serious trouble. Okay. All right. This may be one of the most important statements in the presentation. The only legitimate reason for major change: advancing the mission of your church or organization as it serves God's mission. This is the only legitimate reason for major change. Now, when we moved the seminary, there were a lot of factors that motivated us to consider that change. Of course, there was the pressing factor of a 5-year, well, at that point, a 4-year legal and political fight in the city of Marin, or the county of Marin. There was also all of the urgency that brought to the seminary, not only about its property but about its finances. There were many other issues that related to this, including the pressure this was putting on me as a leader, etc., etc. But what we really had to do was continually come back to ask this question: what will best position the seminary to advance its mission in the next 50 years? Staying and fighting these legal and political battles, or choosing an alternative solution? It really was about the mission. It wasn't about comfort, it wasn't about money, it wasn't about politics, it was really what's the best for the mission. That's what you have to keep asking yourself. Now let me point out something in this that's very important. The only legitimate reason for major change: advancing the mission of your church or organization as it serves God's mission. Now, God's mission in the world is summarized succinctly in statements like the Great Commission. Jesus telling us that our responsibility is to seek and save the lost, to make disciples of nations, etc. That's generally how I would state God's mission. Now, I don't know if any of you represent organizations here or just churches, but here's the reality of your organization or church's mission is that it probably does not encompass all of God's mission. God's mission is expanding His kingdom throughout the world. For example, Gateway Seminary, we're not about all of God's mission. We're about one thing. We shape leaders who expand God's mission. So for example, yesterday, or day before yesterday, a person came to my office to interview me, and one of the questions she asked was, what kind of ministry strategies do you have for impacting the area around the new seminary campuses? And I said, we don't. She was a little shocked by that. She's like, well, what do you mean you don't? I said, that's not what we do. We don't feed the homeless. We don't feed the hungry. We don't house the homeless. We don't clothe the naked. We don't counsel the bereaved or the troubled. We don't baptize anyone. We don't do that. Now, if a class, as a part of training, requires a project in these areas, we facilitate projects, but we don't do these kind of things. She was like, well, aren't you a seminary? Yeah, we are. Well, don't you do ministry? No. Yeah, we do. We do one thing. We shape leaders. You say, well, don't you believe in these other things? I believe in all those other things. I believe in all of them. But that's not our mission. Do you understand what I'm saying? One of the most important things you can know as a leader is what is your mission and what is your organization's mission, and stay riveted on that. Somebody said it this way: stay in your lane. No weaving. No swerving. Right? Because I'm an old church planter, what do you think I get asked all the time? Will Gateway sponsor a church plant? And the answer is no. We won't. We'll train church planters, but we will not sponsor a church plant because that's not our mission. Do you follow me?
Yeah.
So you have to know your mission.
Yeah.
And you may say, well, does a church have a more narrowly defined mission than God's overall mission? Of course it does. You're not going to reach everybody. You say, well, we want to reach everybody. Well, you're not going to. You're just not. You're going to reach a certain community of people. That community may be defined by ethnicity, it may be defined by economics, it may be defined by geography, but you're going to reach a certain people. And that's your mission. That's your mission to accomplish in God's bigger kingdom. You do believe this, I hope. You don't think every church is going to reach everybody. Okay? And so it's better to say, who can we reach? And go after them, rather than